the very things we have been taught to suppress, stress, conflict, and intensity, were actually keys to our power. I am your host, Shreya. On today's Inner Peace Better Health, we welcome Nico Verresen, former elite Muay Thai fighter turned performance psychologist, Tantra practitioner, and master of somatic initiation. Nico's work bridges warrior precision with mystic depth, helping high performing men transmute pressure into presence and fear into fuel. This isn't about calming down, it's about waking up. So, welcome, Nico. I'm honored to have you on my show.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much. So, Nico, you went from cage fights to meditation halls. What did you learn about intensity, both physical and emotional, the most people misunderstand?
Well, I think most people think that intensity is bad and stress is bad, but they don't realize it's just part of our adaptation system. We are born, nature is smart. And so our stress system and emotional system is metabolically very taxing. So it use a lot of energy. So it needs to have a function. So it's not bad. It's there to help us face the challenges of our environment. It is there to give us a compass to see what is important to us and to see where we can change. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so, like, I truly believe that a life without stress or a life without obstacles is a life without meaning.
mm,
You see it a lot when you have those trust fund kids, those very rich kids. Very often they go off the rails because, first of all, they have very often a father or a mother that was amazing, and they have gotten everything, and so they had no way to fall on their face, to go through pain and to grow as a person. And then you come into this state of con- consistent consummation instead of creation. And I
yeah,
think that that's the thing. It's like when you want to go on the Mount Everest, you know, imagine that you do that. It's very painful. Your pinky toe might freeze off. You pass by corpses left and right that you can barely breathe. And then finally you come on top of the mountain and you feel amazing because you conquered yourself and you conquered the limits or the difficulties of your surroundings. Now imagine there's a very intelligent entrepreneur and he puts a cable lift there. And that cable lift has beautiful music, fantastically attractive waiters that are giving you fine dining and a little glass of champagne and a cigar. And then you come on top of the mountain after 2 hours in that lift, and then you come out with a big glove. And how fulfilled will you be when you do that? You know that's a metaphor that I like because it comes down to everything. And so I think that the problem is that many people suffer their way through obstacles instead of embracing it and defining it as the spice of life.
that's such a striking journey, and thank you for showing the true strength. And how do we begin to shift our relationship with intensity from avoidance to alignment?
Well, first, it's reframing it. It's realizing when it's happening. Very often we get overwhelmed by intense emotions or intense sensations, and then we get back into these automatic patterns. It's the fight, flight, freeze, or fold response. Everybody talks about fight or flight, but that's only two possible reactions. Because sometimes when you face a threat, you're not empowered to fight because it's too strong and it's faster than you, so you can't run away, or it stays with you when it's, for example, something in your brain. So then there are two other ways. First, the third one is the freeze mode where you play that, and you hope it goes away. And very often that feels okay in the moment. Like you see a lot of people that are binge watching Netflix. they're scrolling on the internet, they bring themselves to peace. So in that moment, it feels more comfortable, but in the long run, it's killing you slowly. Or it's folding. Folding, what do I mean by folding? It's what you do. Well, psychologists call this farming. I call it people pleasing. That's what it is. So when there's pressure, you start to people please, and then you feel comfortable in the moment, but you're literally denying your own needs. So that's reactive. That's survival modus. So, and if you're not aware of that happening, you will fall back in those patterns because earlier in life, we grew up in a situation where one of these patterns or a few of these patterns were very productive. They helped you, to survive as a kid. Now you're older, it's different. You have much more opportunities. But if you're not aware of the triggers that trigger these four states, well, you're gonna get lost in it. So first, you need to become aware. Okay, what are the things that trigger my intensity, my stress? What are the things that trigger my intense emotion? Once you know that, then you can ask yourself, yeah, why do I care? And then you really realize why you care. Well, in that moment, you can see, aha, this is important to me because of this reason. Now, then there's a next question that's very powerful, and that can help you to go from a rule, a life where you live by rules, you live in service of what society or other people think you should value, to what you truly value, what is really important to you. So then you ask yourself, is this important to me because I chose this to be important? Or is this important to me because I take it out from other people? I copied it. And so then you start to differentiate in your mind between things that are rules that you adopted from the outside world, where you actually, even if you're very high functioning, living like a slave. And you see it a lot. I work with a lot of high performers. They are extremely successful, but they feel empty inside. Is this all there is? Well, yeah, you live a life that is not chosen. You live a life that is directed by outside influences that you adopted, and now you think that's what you value. But then when you start to think, aha, what do I really value? Well, it might be something completely different. For example, I used to stress a lot about money. And at a certain moment, I did these questions. And actually, to be honest, I don't care about money. My mom does, because she's afraid. But I care about freedom. Aha, but now it's something else. Because to be really free, to be able to do whatever you want to do, then money becomes. But so when you start to think about these things like that, once you start to, instead of run away of intensity and pain, you start to open up for it. Just feel it. It's not, it's really uncomfortable, but it's not going to kill you. What's going to kill you is to resist it. If you feel stressful and then you become angry and then you become anxious, that you become even more stressful, and then you become ashamed that you're angry about being ashamed. So it's like you have these different layers of emotions on top of each other, while the primary stress, for example, when somebody steals from you, or somebody wants to sell you something but you don't trust them. There's adaptive stress. It's stress that's there to help you. It's there to make you pay attention and to get the most out of the situation. Then when we start to staple on those other layers, those other emotional layers, those different kind of meanings, well, then a mouse becomes an elephant, squeezing us so we can't move.
Yes, yes, that's wonderful. And I think most of the time we oppress ourselves, but your words will really help to rewrite their story. And you speak of stress as a superpower. In your experience, when does stress become transformational and when does it become toxic?
Well, Henry Ford once said, if you believe you can't, you're right. But if you believe you can, you're just as right. Well, it's not exactly what it said, but that's what it comes down to. So the way you look at stress science has shown has an immense effect on the effects. So when you believe that stress is good for you, is there to help you, your body reacts as if it's a challenge. And what happens? Yes, your adrenaline and your cortisol goes up, your stress hormones. So your heart rate goes up, you breathe more, and your body releases energy. So you're burning more energy, you know? But what is different is when you have a chance, you believe you can handle it. So then your veins stay open, and that makes sure that you don't have too high of a blood pressure, that your blood can get all the oxygen because of the higher breathing and all the energy that your body releases to your brain cells and to your muscles where you can use it. And if you believe that stress is good for you and you have a challenge response, then your body releases neural growth factor and DHEA, which are two anabolic hormones that help our bodies to heal and to make new neural connections. So to learn. But if you believe it says bad for you, then everything becomes a threat. Even if you have something that's just challenging that you can handle, well, then what happens? Your veins constrict because it's as if you face a type. And then you have the high blood pressure, and then you have this cortisol, and then you start to stress about stress. So then you get like many levels of stress on top of each other, by which it's very difficult to at night and let it go because you believe, oh, it's so bad, I went through stress. But when you believe, ah, stress is there to help me, you can lie in bed and say, ah, that was an intense day, but fantastic. And then you can go to sleep. And stress becomes really dangerous when we can't sleep, when we continuously start to stress about stress, when we get stuck in these mental loops. Now, there's many techniques to release those loops, but the first thing, the most important thing, is to embrace everything as a gift.
And that's such a powerful distinction. And thank you for helping us see stress is not as enemy, but as a force that we can alchemize with awareness. And also as a performance psychologist and tantra guide, how do you help men channel conflict into clarity, especially those who were taught to repress or explode?
Yes, well, again, it starts again with that embracing. But then, of course, we need to be able to communicate. And the key in communication, and I work a lot around in intimacy, which is interesting because I'm a performance psychologist. But because the factor that is the biggest predictor of long-term success and longevity is a happy marriage. So that's why it's a very important thing. Now, also when you know, when you can express what is wrong against the partner that you love, the woman or the man of your life, because I work with some women too, and you can say no while they say yes without cutting off the connection, staying in that pressure cooker that is, then you can do it everywhere, you know? Then you can do it in the ring, then you can do it in the boardroom. But this is very difficult. Very often people think these days that, oh, if we have tension, it's bad, and so we go away. No. The real magic of relationships, committed relationships, is that you stay in the pressure cooker. You say yes, I say no, and we don't force each other to budge, to give in. We state, I state, I love wine. She says, I love beer. And then we can just stay in that pressure, and then something else can happen. Something new can come out of it. It's like a pressure cooker where you put in some different vegetables, and all of a sudden, after 20 hours of cooking, you have a fantastic soup. Yes. But if you do not do that, if you give in all the time, imagine you're wine and I'm beer, and we meet each other and we think, ah, we have to create a relationship. So I do some wine with my beer, and you do some beer with your wine. You come here until the moment that you have become an us, and in that moment you lost yourself. You feel disconnected. Why? Because you disconnect from who you really are. And wonder by wonder, there's no sexual attraction, there's no intimacy. Why? Well, because you're practically making love to yourself, and who wants to do that? Because you de differentiated. You're an us, you forgot who you are. And then your partner says you changed. Yes, exactly. You did change. So what is the solution then? Well, most people will just separate, but because they're so intertwined, it hurts like crazy. And then they run away to lean on somebody else. Then another option is that people just stay here living next to each other, you know, not talking about the things that need to be talked about because the minutest movement of the one makes the other shake. Then the third and most adult option is to one of them have to stand on his or her own feet. Well, then this one is in a predicament. Or they fall on their face, or they stand up, and that's what's mostly happening. If one of the two starts to stand on their own two feet, when they learn to communicate, I do not need you, but no matter how hard, I'm still choosing to be here, only then you can feel really desire. Because otherwise, when you're here, when you're leaning on each other, you know they can't leave, they need you. They're not attracted to you. But when you're here, when there's a space to bridge, when they're on their own two feet and they have the possibility to walk away, in that moment, the connection becomes really special. And that's the key to long term intimacy. But it is by embracing the conflict, embracing the difference, embracing the fact that you are two individuals.
And that's such a vital work. And thank you for creating the space where men can meet their fire with the awareness. And you have sat with plant medicine, practiced civic tantra, and trained warriors. What true line connects these worlds in how they teach mastery over the self?
I think it has to do with realizing that we're much more powerful than we ever realized. Why? Because we are not separate. Because we are all manifestations of that same stardust. We are all, if you go to real deep hallucinogenics, you come into a space where it has so many colors, everything explodes. There's intense anger, there's intense joy, there is pure ecstasy, there's pure horror. It's like everything seems to be holy, and that's a belief that I hold. To me, everything is holy, no matter how painful. It's all part of something that we can't fathom with our brains. But when you get into that deep spiritual connection, whether it's into intimate sexual connection, or whether it's into the ring, or whether it's into plant medicine, then in that moment you are so connected with the whole. And paradoxically speaking, very interesting, you feel your role is significant, is valuable. You are valuable while being connected with all the others. We're not independent. We are there together alone.
Yes, that's so true. And if someone listening right now and feels like intensity is consuming them, not empowering them, what is your message to them?
Well, first of all, try to see what are you getting from this. Like, how is this gonna make you stronger? How is this gonna help you? What are the potential benefits of this? And if that's too hard for the thing that you're going through right now, first go back into the past. See where's your hero stories. Where did you not only overcome big challenges, but where did you become better, not despite, but because of the challenge? Once you start to see that in your own life, then I want you to ask that to friends, because when you do that, you start to give them a beautiful gift, because by asking them about their hero stories, about stories where they grew, not again, not despite, but because of the difficulties they went through, you give them a beautiful gift of security, of self assurance, of confidence. But also, you then can learn by vicarious learning, by seeing how they went through these terrible things. And then you can do the same thing in media. You can look at biographies, or like at news and stories, and you can really see, okay, these are all different manifestations of how you can get post stress and post dramatic growth, even where the thing that you went through, what again, like it's a bit like the platitude, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And if you believe that's true, it's true.
Yes, yes, yes. That's such a tender threshold. And thank you for reminding us that. And if my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
Well, you can go to my website, but to your topcoach.com. But best way is just to go to my Instagram, Nico Verresen, and send me a DM there. Yes.
Okay, okay. So I'll make sure to attach all the links below so that our user can find them easily. And with that, our listeners, Nico reminds us that peace isn't the absence of pressure. It's what you find on the other side of it. Your body is not your battleground. Your stress is not your enemy. Your intensity is not too much. It's your initiation. So stop running, breathe deeper, and enter fully. Your power